Hi everyone, thanks again for tuning in. My name is Denise Watson, and if you haven't seen any of my previous videos, I'm here to talk to you about mindfulness and mindful eating. We've already talked about the five basic principles that I believe are most important in being mindful with food and living mindfully. And we ended with tasting and living pleasurably. So, finding pleasure in food and actually slowing down and savoring every bite of that food so that you get all the pleasure and satiety cues from that, get the endorphins and the dopamine so that you feel good from that food. But also in our daily lives, finding pleasure. And we learned that research shows that pleasure without meaning and purpose doesn't necessarily bring us long-term happiness. And we know that there are substances and behaviors that bring pleasure. Um, but, for instance, shopping and gambling make us feel good, and sex and drugs and alcohol and food. But one of the definitions of addiction is any behavior that we continue despite it bringing negative consequences into our lives. And all of these substances and behaviors could be included in that category. With food, it's the same. If we're eating pleasure for the pleasure and it doesn't have the purpose of removing our hunger and the meaning of nourishing our bodies, I think this is where we get into trouble. And so often food is used to distract from emotions that we find too painful to deal with, or that we don't feel we're capable of dealing with. We numb or distract from those. And we also use food to create emotion, reward or relaxation, celebration. So it makes perfect sense why we would turn to food to create these emotions or distract. Maybe as a kid, instead of allowing you to cry and work through your emotions, you were handed a cookie. And when you were a baby, food from your mother meant love. That was your connection to your mother as a baby. And in your childhood, when you were hungry for lunch, your mother would make you something with love and affection, and it would take away that pain of hunger. So it makes perfect sense why we would use food to, distract from these emotions or to fill a void that we are feeling. But it works until it doesn't. If this behavior is bringing negative consequences into your life, whether it's ill health or unwanted fat gain, maybe it's a time to take a look at, what's behind that behavior. What thoughts and emotions are you experiencing in that moment when you turn to food? Slowing down, and actually mindfulness, you could replace the word curious. Curious as to what is creating this behavior. Thoughts, emotions create our behaviors, and until we become conscious of those thoughts and beliefs, we just continue to act and with unconsciously. Again, if you think about, all of these addictions, I think what they really are is a way for people to, numb themselves from the expectations of others, from the judgments of others, from the negative self-talk, which could be the result of feeling that they failed the expectations of whether it's their family or their spouse or their culture. And if you just get drunk, you're not thinking of all the ways that you're not worthy. But you know what? I think when it comes to weight loss, oftentimes we're seeking the same thing. We want to lose weight so that we're free from the judgment of others, so that we have the love and acceptance of others, and we have self-worth and self-acceptance. Unfortunately, many of us get there, we lose the weight, only to find that we still have all of the same negative, self-sabotaging, limiting thoughts going on in our heads. So in order to, I think, obtain long-lasting weight loss, it starts with, your thinking, your thoughts and beliefs, and self-love, regardless of the shape and size of where your body is right now. It's not easy, but it's simple. It's loving yourself as you are right now, believing that you are worthy and that you are lovable, and the judgment of others is their problem. You can't control what other people think of you. You never will be able to. You can't control anything outside of yourself. And if you are choosing or thinking that your happiness is coming from something outside of yourself, whether it's the shape and size of your body, or your income, or your status, or the house you live in, the car you drive. Anything that you can gain, you can also lose, and then there goes your happiness. So we will talk more about this later on, but just for now, work on what we've been talking about here, those simple 5 practices, and we will talk again soon. Thanks.